The bullet punched through his brother's throat before the sound reached him. Colonel Daniel Webb jerked awake at 0400, same nightmare for 34 years. Desert Storm, 1991. His kid brother Ryan taking the sniper round meant for him. 22 years old, bleeding out in sand that drank his blood like it was thirsty. Ryan's last words gurgling through torn windpipe. "Don't let it mean nothing, Danny. Promise me." Daniel sat up in darkness, sheets soaked through. His heart slammed against ribs that felt 58 years old because they were. Across the bed, Catherine's side lay empty. Cancer took her 2 years back. Left him with photos and ghosts and a retirement date circled in red on the calendar. 28 days. 28 days until he became officially useless. Until the Army thanked him for 35 years and sent him to die slowly in some apartment in Colorado Springs. Alone. Forgotten. Another relic waiting for the grave to catch up. His knees screamed when he stood. The shoulder where shrapnel tore through in Kandahar sent lightning up his neck. Body keeping score of every mission, every firefight, every time he'd cheated death while better men died. The photo on the nightstand showed 3 people who didn't exist anymore. Young Daniel in desert camo, arms slung around Ryan. Catherine between them laughing, years before the illness hollowed her out from the inside. Everyone in that photo was dead now. Even the version of Daniel who believed he could save people. He dressed in the dark. Physical training started at 0500. Young SEALs at Fort Carson would already be stretching, talking trash, feeling immortal the way he'd felt once upon a time. Before Ryan bled out, before the names started piling up on memorial walls. November cold bit into Colorado at 0445. Daniel ran the base perimeter, watching his breath cloud white. 3 miles used to take 18 minutes. Now it took 29. Gap widening every month like a wound that wouldn't close. Behind him, a pack of SEALs in their 20s thundered past. One called back over his shoulder, "Move it, old-timer. You're embarrassing us." Daniel saved his breath for running. Let the comment land where it was meant. Old-timer, relic, dinosaur. That's what he was now. Museum piece counting down to retirement, waiting to become fully irrelevant. He finished alone, chest heaving like a broken bellows, and limped to the mess hall. 5:30, place nearly empty. His generation mostly dead or retired. The few left were stationed elsewhere, living out their final days away from Fort Carson. Away from him. Oatmeal tasted like paste, coffee like oil. Around him, young soldiers laughed and shouted, decades ahead of them. He had 28 days. His tablet glowed beside the tray. Retirement checklist stared back. Pension paperwork, complete. Housing arrangements for his closet-sized apartment, complete. Exit interviews, complete. Legacy, what he'd leave behind after 35 years, blank. What was his legacy? Wall of medals he never wore? Career built on missions he couldn't discuss? Or just names carved into black stone, men who died following his orders into hell? After breakfast, Daniel walked to that wall. Did this most mornings, though he told no one. Memorial wall stood in a quiet corner of Fort Carson, black granite etched with names stretching back to Vietnam. Bottom section held newer additions. Iraq, Afghanistan, Chechnya. His fingers found Ryan Webb without looking. Traced those letters 10,000 times, could find them blind. "Still talking to ghosts, boss?" Daniel turned. Master Chief Jack Morrison stood 3 feet away, coffee steaming in the cold. 55 years old, built like a brick all, eyes that had seen hell and remembered every detail. Daniel's teammate for 2 decades, back when they were young enough to think they'd live forever. "Every morning for 34 years, Daniel said. Jack moved beside him, studying the wall. His fingers touched a different name. Martinez, blown apart by IED in Fallujah, 2004. Jack had been close enough to catch pieces of him. "You ever wonder if maybe it's time to let go?" Jack asked. Daniel didn't answer immediately. Around them, Fort Carson woke up. Engines rumbling, boots on concrete, shouts from the firing range. All the sounds of war preparing itself, same as it had for centuries. "Some things don't let go," Daniel said finally. "They just dig deeper." Jack sipped coffee, grimaced. 28 days to retirement. "I know. What's the plan after? Little apartment, VA appointments, slow death by boredom?" "That's the plan. Sounds like hell." Daniel smiled without humor. "Yeah." Jack pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, handed it over. Daniel looked down at classified intelligence brief. His eyes scanned the text, froze. Read it again slower, like maybe he'd gotten it wrong the first time. Nikolai Volkov, 62 years old, former Soviet Spetsnaz, current international arms dealer. Believed killed in Chechnya, 2018. New evidence confirmed alive. Location, West Virginia. Status, active threat. Daniel's hands started shaking. Tried to hide it. Failed. Jack saw everything. That's impossible, Daniel whispered. Intel came through 36 hours ago. Facial recognition, communication intercepts, satellite confirmation. He survived. The memories crashed over Daniel like a tidal wave. Chechnya, 2018. The ambush, the screaming, smell of burning flesh and cordite. He'd put 2 rounds center mass into Nikolai, watched the building collapse on top of him, declared target eliminated. But he'd never confirmed the body, never verified the kill. Lazy, arrogant, the kind of mistake that got people killed. And now Nikolai was alive, on American soil, 190 miles from where Daniel stood breathing Colorado air. I watched the building fall, Daniel said. Apparently he's harder to kill than cockroaches. Daniel handed back the phone. His mind raced through that mission, looking for the mistake, finding it instantly. He trusted gravity to finish the job, trusted that 2 bullets and a collapsing building would be enough. Never went back to confirm. How long have you known? Daniel asked. 48 hours, wanted verification before telling you. Command, no, I'm aware. Jack nodded. Captain Brennan authorized disclosure. Figured you had right to know before you rode off into the sunset. Daniel looked back at the memorial or stadial, 16 names from the Chechnya operation. 16 operators who died because Nikolai had been waiting. Prepared, 3 steps ahead. Daniel had led them into that meat grinder, his tactical planning, his intelligence assessment, his failure. I need the full brief, Daniel said. Figured you'd say that. They walked across base toward the classified facility. Morning sun climbed higher, warming the air, but doing nothing for the ice in Daniel's veins. 28 days from retirement and a ghost from 6 years ago just crawled out of hell to finish what they'd started. The briefing room felt like a tomb. Small, windowless, cold enough to see breath. Captain Sarah Brennan waited inside, along with Lieutenant Nicole Chen. Both women stood when Daniel entered. Brennan commanded Fort Carson's Intel Division for 3 years. Sharp, competent, former K-9 handler before moving to command. Saw combat in Iraq, didn't tolerate fools. Nicole was younger, 31, and her presence made Daniel's chest tighten. She'd been on the Chechnya mission. One of 3 survivors from 18 operators. Third survivor lives somewhere quiet now, somewhere far from anything that smelled like combat. Colonel Webb, Brennan said, thank you for coming. Daniel nodded, took a seat. Jack sat beside him. Nicole wouldn't meet his eyes, and Daniel understood. She blamed him for Chechnya, had every right to. Brennan activated the wall screen. Nikolai's face appeared, older than Daniel remembered, scarred heavily on the left side, one eye milky white, dead as a fish, other eye burned with intelligence that made Daniel's skin crawl. Nikolai Volkov, Brennan began. 62, former Spetsnaz, operated through Soviet collapse, Chechnya conflicts, Afghanistan, transitioned to arms dealing in early 2000s, responsible for supplying weapons to 19 terrorist organizations. 400 plus confirmed kills, personal and supplied. Screen changed to satellite image of compound in dense forest. Current location, Appalachian Mountains, West Virginia. Compound is fortified. We estimate 50 to 70 hostiles on site. Underground tunnel network, anti-air capabilities. He's been there roughly 8 months. How'd he get into the country, Daniel asked. Nicole answered, voice flat as sheet metal. We believe he's been here 6 years, sir. Since Chechnya, he didn't escape the country, he came to ours. Room tilted. Daniel gripped the table edge. 6 years. Nikolai had been in the United States for 6 years, building networks, gathering resources, and nobody knew. What's his objective? Jack asked. Brennan looked uncomfortable. Glanced at Nicole, who nodded slightly. We believe it's personal, Brennan said. Screen changed. Audio waveform appeared. Speakers crackled. Where is Ironside? Nikolai's voice, thick Russian accent, filled the room. I have been patient, 6 years patient. But patience has limits. Time for reunion, I think. Recording ended. Silence pressed down like a physical weight. Ironside, Daniel's call sign from the old days. Not many people remembered it anymore. But Nikolai did. There's more, Nicole said quietly. She worked the controls. Video began playing. Image showed a woman, mid-50s, gray hair, tied to chair in concrete room, beaten badly, face swollen, one eye completely shut. Daniel recognized her instantly, even through the damage. Anna, he whispered. Anna Petrova, his translator during Chechnya. Russian defector who provided intel on Nikolai's network, helped Daniel's team locate the target. After the mission failed, after most of the team died, Daniel arranged Anna's extraction to Europe. New identity, new life, money to start over. Or so he'd thought. Nikolai appeared in frame, standing behind Anna, placed one hand almost gently on her shoulder. She flinched like he'd hit her. "Hello, Ironside," Nikolai said to camera. "You remember Anna, yes? Your translator. Very helpful woman, very brave. After you left, after your failed mission, I found her at airport. She had new passport, new name, ticket to Berlin, very professional extraction work." Nikolai's hand tightened on Anna's shoulder. She whimpered, sound that made Daniel's stomach turn. "I have kept her with me. 6 years now, waiting for right moment, teaching her about patience, about consequences of betrayal. She has learned so much. Would you like to hear lessons?" Anna looked at camera. Her good eye held nothing. No hope, no fear, just exhaustion and the wish for death. "Please," she whispered, "just let me die." Video ended. Daniel realized he was standing. Didn't remember standing. His hands gripped table edge hard enough his knuckles had gone white as bone. Around him, room felt too small, too hot despite cold air pumping through vents. "When did this come through?" Daniel's voice sounded strange, distant, controlled. Voice he used when everything inside was screaming. 20 hours ago, Brennan said. Sent through encrypted channels to multiple agencies. He wanted us to find it. "He's baiting you," Jack said. "Personal vendetta. He wants you coming after him angry and stupid." Daniel knew that. Understood tactical situation perfectly. Nikolai kept Anna alive 6 years specifically for this moment. Broadcast his location, revealed his presence, all to draw Daniel into a trap. And Daniel was going to walk right into it with eyes wide open. "I need the full intelligence package on his compound," Daniel said. Brennan hesitated. "Sir, you're retiring in 28 days. This isn't your operation." "I led the team that failed to kill him in 2018. 16 operators died because of my tactical planning. Anna was tortured 6 years because I failed to verify she escaped. This is absolutely my operation. You're not authorized for active combat duty without special clearance. Your age alone requires waivers from JSOC." Daniel turned to face her fully. "Then get me the clearance and the waivers. I'm going after him." "Colonel Webb," Brennan said carefully, "I understand personal connection, but sending a 58-year-old officer on direct action against fortified compound is not sound tactics. I'm not asking for permission. I'm informing you of my intent." Jack put hand on Daniel's shoulder. "Danny, she's right. You collapsed after an 800-meter sprint 2 weeks ago. Medical file shows high blood pressure, joint deterioration, potential cardiac issues. You go into firefight in your condition, your liability, not asset." Daniel shook off the hand. "I've forgotten more about tactics than half the operators on this base will ever learn. I know Nikolai, his patterns, psychology, methods. Nobody else has that." Nicole spoke up, voice quiet but steady. "He knows you too, sir. Knows exactly what buttons to push. This whole setup is designed to make you angry, reckless. He's counting on you coming in emotional and stupid." "Then I won't be stupid." "But you'll be emotional," Nicole said, "because you blame yourself for Chechnya, because you couldn't save us then. Think you can save Anna now. That's what he wants. That's the trap." Daniel met her eyes, saw pain there that mirrored his own. Nicole had been 25 during Chechnya, junior intel officer on her second deployment. Watched teammates die, spent 3 days trapped under rubble before rescue. Experience left scars deeper than the ones visible on her face. "What would you do?" Daniel asked her. "If it was your translator, your responsibility?" Nicole didn't answer immediately, finally said, "I'd go, even knowing it's a trap, because some debts don't care about retirement dates." Brennan looked between them, sighed. "I'll request authorization from JSOC, but Colonel, if they deny, you stand down. Clear?" "Clear." It was a lie. Everyone in the room knew it. Briefing continued another hour. Details about Nikolai's compound, guard rotations, supply routes, communication intercepts. More Daniel learned, worse it looked. Nikolai built a fortress. Conventional assault would need overwhelming force and would definitely get hostages killed. Because there were more hostages than just Anna. Brennan revealed the rest. Nikolai held 13 hostages total, 9 civilians, likely grabbed from nearby towns over past months, 3 military contractors, and one canine handler named Jessica Martinez, taken 7 days ago during training exercise in Virginia mountains. Daniel's jaw clenched. Canine handler, 24 years old per her file, stationed at Fort Carson before temporary Virginia assignment. Her canine, German Shepherd named Shadow, also being held, locked in cage within the compound. Nikolai wasn't just baiting Daniel. He was methodically striking everything Daniel cared about. Handlers, canine units, operators serving under him. After briefing ended, Daniel stayed seated while others filed out. Jack lingered by door. "You're really doing this," Jack said, not question. "Yes. Even though you're 28 days from retirement, even though this is obviously trap, even though you're old, broken, should be pushing papers. Especially because of all that." Jack moved back to table, pulled out chair, sat down heavily. Long moment, neither man spoke. They'd known each other 20 years. Survived firefights together in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, attended each other's weddings. Jack had been at Catherine's funeral, standing in rain, one of 3 people who showed outside family. "Know what your problem is, Danny?" Jack said finally. "You think you owe the dead something. Ryan, Catherine, Chechnya team, all those names on the wall. Think if you fight hard enough, sacrifice enough, somehow it'll balance the scales." "Won't," Daniel said. "Then why do it?" Daniel looked at darkened screen where Anna's beaten face had been moments before. "Because if I don't, what was any of it for? 35 years, all those missions, all those people who died following my orders. If I can't save one person, can't finish one mission, then what did Ryan die for? What did any of them die for?" Jack nodded slowly. "You're going to need a team." "I know. Team's going to need someone who knows canine operations, someone who understands how Nikolai thinks, someone who survived Chechnya." Daniel understood where this was going. "She won't come. Won't know till you ask. I discharged her, Jack. Signed papers that ended her career. She hates me. Maybe, but she hates Nikolai more." Daniel pulled out tablet, accessed personnel database, found the file. Handler Alexis Stone, 28 years old, currently assigned in K9 Training Unit, Fort Carson. Before that, DevGru operator, call sign Ghost 7, youngest and most talented operator in unit history. Until Chechnya broke her, Daniel had recruited her for DevGru at age 24. Trained her personally, watched her excel beyond every expectation. She'd been brilliant, fast, smart, tactically creative in ways that surprised even veterans. Then came the ambush. The IEDs, building collapse. Alexis froze at critical moment, PTSD from watching her team leader die in her arms. 1 second hesitation, Nikolai escaped. Psych eval after mission was brutal. Survivor's guilt, post-traumatic stress disorder, recommendation for discharge from active DevGru operations. Daniel fought it, argued for more time, more therapy. Division commanders were firm, too much risk, too much liability. So Daniel signed in papers. Ended career of best operator he'd ever trained. Alexis transferred to K9 operations, furthest thing from DevGru she could find while staying military. They hadn't spoken in 6 years. "Where would I find her?" Daniel asked. Jack checked watch. "Oh, 700. She'll be at K9 facility running morning exercises." K9 training facility sat on eastern edge of Fort Carson, away from main base. Daniel drove there alone, windows down despite cold, trying to organize thoughts. What did you say to someone whose career you destroyed? Someone who probably blamed you for worst day of her life. Truth, he supposed. Hope it was enough. Facility was sprawling, complex of training yards, obstacle courses, kennels. Daniel parked near main building, followed sound of barking dogs and shouted commands. Around corner, found morning training in progress. 12 K9 handlers worked with him, running drills, practicing commands, building partnership that would keep them alive in combat. At front, calling instructions, was Alexis Stone. She looked different than Daniel remembered. Older, obviously. 6 years did that, but also harder. Bright-eyed enthusiasm she'd carried as young DevGru operator, replaced by something quieter, more controlled. She moved with same fluid efficiency, but now it was contained, directed inward, not projected outward. Her dog, Belgian Malinois named Chaos, sat at perfect attention beside her. 6 years old per records, same age as Alexis's exile from DevGru. Daniel watched from distance as Alexis put handlers through paces. Natural instructor, patient but firm, correcting mistakes without crushing confidence. Handlers clearly respected her, even if they didn't know her history. Session ended, handlers dispersed to work individually with canines. Alexis was writing notes on clipboard when Daniel approached. She sensed his presence, looked up, went very still. 5 seconds, neither spoke. Colonel Webb, Alexis said finally, voice carefully neutral. Alexis, I go by Stone now, Handler Stone. Correction landed like slap. Daniel absorbed it, nodded. Handler Stone, can we talk? About? Nikolai Volkov. Alexis's expression didn't change, but Chaos's ears flattened against skull. Dog sensed Handler's emotional shift before it showed on her face. I have training scheduled another hour, Alexis said. This is important. So is my job. Daniel glanced around. Other handlers out of earshot, focused on own dogs. He's alive, Nikolai. He's taken hostages, including canine handler named Jessica Martinez. Alexis's grip tightened on clipboard. When? 7 days ago. We confirmed his location yesterday. West Virginia, fortified compound. He's been in country 6 years. Since Chechnya? Yes. Alexis looked away toward where Chaos waited patiently. Dog moved closer, protective instinct activated by tension radiating from handler. Why tell me? Alexis asked. Because I'm going after him. Need a team. People who know how he operates, people who survived him once. Alexis's laugh was sharp, bitter. You want me on DevGru operation? Operator you discharged for psychological unfitness? That Alexis Stone? I want best tactical mind I ever trained. Someone who understands K9 operations, since Nikolai specifically targeted handler. And yes, someone who survived Chechnya, because you know what we're walking into. I know 16 people died because I froze. No, Nikolai escaped because when I had him in sights, I couldn't pull trigger. No, you looked me in the eye and told me I wasn't fit for service. Each word hit like physical blow. Daniel forced himself to hold her gaze. I was wrong, he said. Alexis blinked. What? I was wrong to discharge you. You weren't unfit. You were 24 years old, watching teammates die, dealing with trauma that would break most people. You needed time, support, therapy. Instead, I gave up on you, and I'm sorry. First time Daniel said those words out loud, to anyone. Apology hung in cold morning air between them. Alexis's eyes glistened, but no tears fell. Why now? Why apologize after 6 years? Because I'm 28 days from retirement, and young handler is being tortured by man we failed to kill. Because Anna Petrova has been his prisoner 6 years, that's on me. Because I'm old, slow, broken, can't do this alone, and because you deserve better than what I gave you. Alexis studied him long moment. Chaos whined softly, pushed head against her leg. She absently scratched behind his ears, gesture automatic, comforting. What makes you think I can do this? She asked. That I won't freeze again? Because you've honed 6 years proving you won't. Training handlers, running operations with K9 units in active combat zones. Your record is flawless. More than that, I see how you work with chaos. Trust, partnership. You've rebuilt yourself into something stronger than you were. Stronger than operator who let Nikolai escape. Yes. Alexis' closed eyes took slow breath, opened them again. When do we leave? Relief flooded through Daniel, so intense it made his knees weak. Need to assemble team first, brief in 6 hours. I'll be there, but Colonel, one thing. What? If I freeze again, if I can't make the shot, you put me down and finish mission. No hesitation, no guilt. Clear? Daniel wanted to argue, tell her that wouldn't happen. She was stronger than her fear. But he respected her too much to lie. Clear. Alexis nodded once, turned back to training session. Daniel walked away feeling both lighter and heavier. First step taken. Now came hard part. Building team to storm fortress, held by man who'd spent 6 years planning their deaths. Briefing scheduled for 1300 in classified facility. Daniel spent intervening time reviewing every piece of intel on Nikolai's compound, looking for weaknesses, finding very few. Nikolai learned from Chechnya. This time he was ready. At 12:45, Daniel entered briefing room. Jack already there, along with Nicole, but others too. Lieutenant Marcus Hayes and his SEAL team, same unit training with Alexis's K9 handlers. Daniel requested their presence, though wasn't sure they'd show. 2 weeks ago, Hayes' team ignored Alexis's warnings during training exercise, walked straight into ambush. Alexis and Chaos saved their lives, revealing her identity as Ghost 7 in process. Team had been properly humbled. Hayes stood when Daniel entered. 32 years old, decorated, 200-plus missions. Brilliant tactician with ego to match. Or had ego before Alexis proved him wrong. Colonel Webb, Hayes said, offering hand. Daniel shook it. Thank you for coming, Lieutenant. You requested K9 Integrated Operations Specialists. After 2 weeks ago, we're most qualified team on base. We learned our lesson about dismissing expertise. Behind Hayes stood his team. Ethan Cross, big operator who'd mocked Alexis. Kyle Rivers, sniper first to recognize her skill. Tyler Mason, combat medic. Owen Clark, communications specialist. Lucas Morrison, Jack Morrison's nephew, youngest team member. They all looked uncomfortable, which was appropriate. They disrespected legend, nearly died for it. Alexis entered last, chaos at side. K9's presence made some SEALs shift uneasily, but no one complained. They'd learned that lesson too. Let's begin, Daniel said. He activated wall screen. Nikolai's compound appeared. Everyone had seen intel brief, but Daniel walked through it again. Methodical, thorough. 50 to 70 hostiles, underground tunnel network, anti-air capabilities. 13 hostages in various locations throughout compound. This is hard target, Daniel said. Conventional assault gets hostages killed. We need precision, stealth, advantages Nikolai doesn't expect. Like what? Ethan asked. Alexis answered. Like K9 detection. Nikolai's traps rely on surprise. Chaos can detect explosives, tripwires, concealed positions from distances no electronic equipment matches. He's our early warning system. 1 dog against 70 hostiles seems like bad odds, Tyler said. 1 experienced K9 has better survival rate than 70 untrained guards, Alexis replied. Trust the data. Kyle leaned forward. What's approach strategy? Daniel manipulated screen, highlighting 3 routes. We split into 3 teams. Team 1, Lieutenant Hayes, approaches south. Your objective is hostage extraction, basement level. That's where most civilians are held. He pointed to another route. Team 2, Handler Stone with K9 Chaos, approaches east through forest. Your objective is perimeter penetration, trap detection. You clear path for other teams. And Team 3, Jack asked, tone suggesting he already knew. Team 3 is me and you, Jack. We go straight through front to 2nd floor. That's where Nikolai keeps office, where Anna is held, where he'll be waiting. Room erupted in protests, Hayes loudest. Sir, with respect, that's suicide. 2 operators against Nikolai and personal guard? It's what he expects, Daniel said calmly. He wants me, specifically. If I give him what he wants, he focuses resources on killing me, which means fewer guards watching hostages, fewer people noticing teams 1 and 2. You're using yourself as bait, Nicole said. I'm using tactical misdirection. Still suicide. Daniel met her eyes. Maybe, but if I'm going to die, rather it means something. Anna has been tortured 6 years because I failed her. Jessica Martinez is caged because Nikolai wants to hurt people I care about. I'm not walking away, not even for retirement. Protests died down. Everyone understood. Some missions weren't about survival, about doing what needed doing, regardless cost. Alexis spoke up. What's timeline? Nikolai gave us 72 hours in last transmission. That was 20 hours ago. We have 52 hours remaining. I want to move in 48. Gives us time to prep, rehearse, insert under darkness. 2 days to plan assault on fortress, Ethan muttered. This gets better and better. You have problem with timeline, operator? Daniel asked, voice sharp. Ethan straightened. No, sir, just noting challenge. Good, because I don't have time for complaints. You're either in or out. Decide now. Hayes looked at his team. One by one, they nodded. We're in, sir. Daniel turned to Alexis. Handler Stone? She looked down at Chaos, who sat alert, ready, sensing tension. Chaos and I are in. Good, Nicole, your mission control. Coordinate from here. Maintain communications. Call in air support if things go sideways. Understood, sir. Everyone else, 48 hours to prepare. Equipment check, rehearsals, physical conditioning. I want peak readiness, dismissed. Team filed out, but Alexis lingered. When room was empty except her, Chaos, and Daniel, she spoke. You really think this will work? Honestly? No, think Nikolai spent 6 years planning for this exact scenario. Think he has counters for every move we'll make. Think most of us won't come back. Then why go? Daniel thought about Ryan bleeding out in Iraqi sand, Catherine wasting away in hospital bed, holding his hand till the end, 16 names from Chechnya carved into memorial wall. Because some debts don't care about retirement dates, he said. And because if we don't try, Anna dies knowing we abandoned her. Jessica dies thinking no one cared. and I spend whatever years I have left carrying that weight. Alexis nodded slowly. Then we better make it count. She left, chaos padding silently beside her. Daniel stood alone in an empty briefing room, staring at Nikolai's compound on screen. Somewhere in those buildings, woman who trusted him was being tortured. Young handler was caged. Innocent people waited for rescue that might never come. 28 days until retirement. But first, one last mission, one last chance to balance scales, one last opportunity to prove 35 years meant something more than names on wall. Daniel pulled out phone, dialed number he hadn't called in 2 years, rang 4 times before familiar voice answered. Dr. Walsh speaking. Elizabeth, it's Daniel Webb. I need session tonight if possible. Pause. Dr. Elizabeth Walsh had been Catherine's oncologist before becoming VA psychologist. She'd helped Daniel process grief after Catherine's death, or tried to. Daniel stopped attending sessions 6 months ago. Daniel, good to hear from you. Is everything all right? No, but I need to talk before I do something that might be very stupid. Come by at 1800. I'll make time. Session happened in Dr. Walsh's office at VA Hospital. 52 years old, kind eyes, sort of person who actually listened instead of waiting for turn to talk. She'd kept Daniel relatively sane through worst of his grief. You said you were planning something stupid, she began. Want to elaborate? Daniel told her everything. Nikolai, Anna, mission, fact he was 58, retiring in 28 days, about to assault fortress held by man who'd spent 6 years preparing to kill him. Walsh listened without interrupting. When he finished, she sat back, considered him carefully. You know this is likely to get you killed, she said. Yes. And you're doing it anyway. Yes. Why? Daniel had been asking himself same question for 20 hours. Because if I don't, what was any of it for? Ryan died in Desert Storm. Catherine died from cancer. 16 operators died in Chechnya. All those years, all that sacrifice. If I can't save one person, can't finish one mission, what did they all die for? They died because war kills people, Daniel. Random, senseless, unavoidable. Their deaths don't require meaning, they just are. That's not good enough. Why not? Daniel struggled to articulate feeling building for 35 years. Because Ryan told me not to let it mean nothing. Those were his last words. Don't let it mean nothing, Danny. So I've spent 3 decades trying to make it mean something. Trying to save enough people, complete enough missions, serve with enough honor that his death mattered. Has it worked? No. Then why keep trying? Because alternative is accepting he died for nothing. That all of them died for nothing. And I can't live with that. Walsh leaned forward. Daniel, I'm going to tell you something difficult. Ryan's death doesn't need to mean something to the world. It needs to mean something to you. And right now, you're so focused on external validation, saving people and completing missions, that you've missed actual meaning, which is that he loved you, that he stepped in front of bullet because he wanted his brother to live. Meaning isn't in what you do afterward. It's in love that motivated his sacrifice. You honor that love by living, by finding peace, by allowing yourself to be more than weapon pointed at next mission. Daniel felt something crack inside his chest. Tears burned at corners of eyes, but he forced them back. I don't know how to be more than that, he whispered. Then maybe it's time to learn. You have 28 days until retirement. Use them to find out who Daniel Webb is when he's not Colonel Webb. After this mission, Walsh sighed, you're going regardless of what I say, aren't you? Yes. Then at least promise me something. If you survive, if you make it back, you'll come see me. Weekly sessions. Work through trauma properly instead of burying it under next mission. I promise. Good, now get out of here and try not to die. Daniel left session feeling both worse and better. Worse because Walsh forced him to confront truths he'd been avoiding. Better because at least someone understood why he had to do this. Next 48 hours blurred together. Equipment checks, tactical rehearsals, physical conditioning that left Daniel gasping, sore but ready. Team came together, slowly building trust, coordination. Alexis worked with chaos constantly, running K9 through complex detection drills. Dog was incredible, finding hidden explosives, identifying concealed positions, alerting to dangers human operators missed completely. Hayes' team watched in respectful silence, having learned lesson about underestimating K9 assets. Final night before insertion, Daniel found himself at Memorial Wall again. His ritual, penance. His fingers traced Ryan's name, then moved to 16 names from Chechnya. I'm coming for him, Daniel whispered to Stone. Going to finish what we started, and if I don't make it back, at least I tried. Talking to yourself, old man? Daniel turned. Jack stood few feet away, dressed in full tactical gear. Tomorrow's mission, tomorrow's likely death. Just making promises to ghosts, Daniel said. Think they're listening? I hope so. They stood together in comfortable silence. 20 years friendship, hundreds of missions, countless close calls, and now one final operation. Jack, if I don't make it back, Daniel began. Don't? We're both coming back. We're going to get Anna, save those hostages, put Nikolai in ground. Then you're going to retire. I'm going to visit you in that closet apartment. We're going to drink beer and lie about old days. Daniel smiled. Sounds good. It will be. At 0300, team assembled for final briefing. 2 Black Hawk helicopters waited on tarmac. Insertion at 0430, 2 kilometers from Nikolai's compound. 3 teams, 3 objectives. Coordination through Nicole's command center. Daniel looked at assembled operators. Young faces, hard eyes, ready for violence. Alexis and Chaos standing slightly apart, K9 sensing tension and excitement. Jack beside him, solid, dependable as always. This is hard mission, Daniel said. Most of you will be hurt. Some might die. Nikolai has had 6 years to prepare, knows we're coming. But we go anyway, because 13 people are counting on us. Because we don't abandon our own. Because this is what we do. He paused, looking each operator in eye. I'm proud to serve with all of you. Let's bring everyone home. Helicopters lifted into pre-dawn darkness. Daniel sat by open door, wind whipping through cabin, watching Colorado disappear beneath them. 28 days to retirement. But first, one last mission. One last chance to save someone. One last opportunity to prove all those years, all that sacrifice, meant something more than names on wall. Mountains of West Virginia rose ahead, dark and waiting. And somewhere in those mountains, Nikolai Volkov was preparing his trap. But this time, Daniel Webb wasn't walking in blind. This time, he had Alexis Stone, had Chaos, had a team that learned the hard way never to dismiss expertise. This time, the old warrior had one advantage Nikolai didn't expect. He had nothing left to lose. The Black Hawk shuddered through turbulence over the Appalachian ridgeline. Daniel Webb sat by the open door, wind screaming past, watching darkness give way to pre-dawn gray. 58 years old, 26 days from retirement now, if he survived the next 12 hours. He should have been terrified. Instead, he felt calm, purpose after months of drifting toward irrelevance. This was what he'd been built for. Not retirement parties and VA appointments. This, the mission, the team, the willingness to put everything on the line for people who needed saving. Across the cabin, Alexis Stone sat with Chaos pressed against her leg. The Belgian Malinois sensed the tension, ears swiveling at every sound, muscles coiled and ready. Alexis's eyes were closed, but Daniel knew she wasn't sleeping. She was running through the mission in her head, same as he was, visualizing approach routes, contingencies, the 1,000 things that could go wrong. Lieutenant Marcus Hayes and his SEAL team occupied the 2nd Black Hawk, flying parallel 200 meters off their port side. Through the open door, Daniel could see their silhouette against the lightning sky. Ethan Cross, Kyle Rivers, Tyler Mason, Owen Clark, Lucas Morrison. Young men, well-trained, confident. They'd learned humility 2 weeks ago when Alexis saved their lives. Now they'd learn whether that lesson stuck. Jack Morrison sat beside Daniel, checking his weapon for the 3rd time. Ritual more than necessity, Jack had been checking weapons before missions for 30 years. Could do it blind, asleep, underwater. The repetition calmed him, same way running mission scenarios calmed Daniel. 48 hours since the briefing. 48 hours of prep, rehearsals, equipment checks. Nicole Chen had updated intelligence continuously from Fort Carson, tracking Nikolai's communications, confirming guard rotations, verifying hostage locations. Captain Sarah Brennan coordinated logistics, got them clearance, made sure every piece was in place. Now came the hard part, execution. 5 minutes to insertion, the pilot's voice crackled through their headsets. Daniel keyed his mic. Copy. Teams 1 and 2, radio check. Team 1, good copy, Hayes responded from the other bird. His voice was steady, professional. The arrogance from 2 weeks ago was gone, replaced by hard-earned respect. Team 2, good copy, Alexis said quietly. Chaos's ears perked up at her voice. Remember the approach, Daniel said. We go silent from here. No comms unless absolutely necessary. Nikolai's monitoring frequencies. Assume he hears everything. Chorus of acknowledgements, then silence except for rotor noise and wind. The helicopters descended into a valley 2 kilometers east of Nikolai's compound. Dense forest, no roads, terrain that would break ankles in daylight and kill you in darkness. Perfect insertion point because it was so terrible. Nikolai would expect them to land somewhere easier, somewhere vehicles could extract them if things went sideways. Daniel wasn't planning on things going right enough to need extraction. They roped down fast, boots hitting soft earth with barely a sound. Daniel's knees screamed protest, but he ignored them. Pain was just information he didn't have time for. Both helicopters peeled away immediately, rotors fading into the distance. Silence dropped over the forest like a blanket. Daniel counted to 30, listening. Birds starting their morning songs. Creek running somewhere to the north. Wind through pine branches. No human sounds, no engines, no voices. Team 1 materialized from the darkness. Hayes gave hand signal. Ready. His team spread into tactical formation behind him. Ethan Cross on point, big and quiet despite his size. Kyle Rivers with his sniper rifle slung across his back. Tyler Mason checking his medical pack one last time. Owen Clark adjusting his communications gear. Lucas Morrison, youngest at 22, looking nervous but determined. They'd learned. 2 weeks ago, they would have been cocky. Now they understood what they were walking into. Alexis and Chaos moved east, into the forest, beginning their perimeter sweep. The dog's nose was already working, seeking threats, explosives, anything that didn't belong. Within seconds, they'd vanished into the trees like ghosts. Daniel and Jack headed north toward the compound's front entrance. Slowest approach, most dangerous. Exactly where Nikolai would expect Daniel to come, which was the point. Keep Nikolai's attention focused on the front door while the other teams worked the flanks. The forest thickened as they climbed. Daniel's breath came harder, chest tight. Not fear, just A1 age and damaged lungs from too many years breathing smoke and cordite. He forced the pace slower, conserving energy. This was going to be a long day. Needed to have something left when it mattered. Jack noticed, slowed his pace to match, didn't comment, didn't need to. 20 years together, they communicated in silence. 15 minutes into the approach, Daniel's radio earpiece clicked 3 times. Alexis's signal. She'd found something. He clicked back twice, acknowledged, waiting for details. Her voice came through, barely above whisper. Perimeter sensors, motion activated. I count 8, covering eastern approach. Chaos detected them at 60 meters. Daniel smiled grimly. Of course, Nikolai had sensors. Man was nothing if not thorough. But sensors required someone watching monitors, someone who'd see the alerts and have to decide if they were wildlife or threats. That uncertainty was exploitable. Can you bypass? Daniel whispered back. Negative. Too dense. But I can trigger them deliberately, create false positives. Make them think it's deer. Do it. Create noise. Draw their attention east while we approach north. Copy. 3 minutes later, Daniel's earpiece crackled with intercepted radio traffic. Russian accented English, annoyed. Sensors tripping again, eastern perimeter, probably deer. Another voice, older, more cautious. Send someone to check. We checked twice already tonight, always deer. Then check third time. Boss doesn't pay us to assume. Grumbling, then sound of someone moving. Footsteps on gravel, flashlight beam cutting through trees. Daniel and Jack froze, weapons ready. They were 400 meters from eastern perimeter. Guard wouldn't come near them. But it meant Nikolai's people were alert, responsive, not complacent, despite the false alarms. Good and bad. Good because it meant they were predictable, following procedures. Bad because procedures existed for a reason, and professionals following procedures were harder to kill than amateurs winging it. The guard's radio crackled again after 5 minutes. Eastern perimeter clear, deer tracks everywhere. Sensor sensitivity is too high. Tell that to boss. He sets the parameters. More grumbling, then silence. Meanwhile, Team 1 was moving south through different terrain. Hayes kept his team tight, hand signals only, no verbal communication. They'd practiced this approach a dozen times in the 48 hours since briefing. Every man knew his role, his position, his fallback points. Owen Clark stopped suddenly, raised fist. Everyone froze. He pointed to tripwire stretched across their path at ankle height, nearly invisible in the darkness. Kyle Rivers moved forward carefully, examined it. Not explosive, alarm trigger. He traced the wire to a small sensor box attached to a tree, pulled out a bypass kit, worked for 90 seconds in silence. Green light on sensor box turned red. Disabled. They continued. Alexis and Chaos were having similar success on their route. The dog had detected and marked 6 separate trap systems, pressure plates, tripwires, motion sensors. Nikolai had turned his compound into a maze of detection systems, but he'd made one mistake. He'd designed them for human detection, not for a K9 with 4 years of combat experience and a nose that could smell explosives from 200 meters. Every trap Chaos found Alexis marked with infrared beacon, invisible to naked eye, but visible through night vision, creating a safe path for the extraction, planning ahead for when things went wrong. Because things always went wrong. Daniel and Jack reached the ridgeline overlooking the compound. Daniel went prone, pulled out binoculars, studied the target. Nikolai had built himself a fortress. Main house was 3 stories, stone and timber, looked like expensive hunting lodge from outside. But the windows were reinforced, gun ports visible on upper floors, antenna array on roof that suggested serious communications capability. Outbuildings scattered around main house, barracks for the guards, generator building, what looked like armory, and set back from everything else, half buried in the hillside, a concrete structure that had to be entranced to the tunnel network. Guards visible everywhere. Daniel counted 14 on perimeter patrol, another 8 on static positions, 22 just on exterior security. Intel said 50 to 70 total, which meant another 30 to 50 inside, plus Nikolai himself and however many personal bodyguards he kept close. 2 operators against that, suicide like everyone said, but suicide with purpose. Jack studied the compound through his own binoculars. Front entrance has overlapping fields of fire. We go through there, we're exposed for 40 seconds minimum. That's 30 rounds from at least 6 positions. Can you suppress them? I can kill maybe 2 before they scatter. Other 4 will shred us. Daniel thought about it. Frontal assault was supposed to draw attention, but drawing attention while getting killed didn't help anyone. He needed to get inside, needed to reach 2nd floor, needed to find Anna and Nikolai. Couldn't do that dead. There, Daniel said, pointing to a drainage pipe running from the main house into the forest. Wastewater. Has to lead inside somewhere. Jack followed his finger. You want to crawl through a sewer pipe? You have a better idea? Not really, but I'm going to complain about it anyway. They worked their way down the ridge, staying in tree cover, moving slow. Took 40 minutes to reach the drainage pipe. It was 3 feet in diameter, concrete, slick with algae, and reeking of sewage. Daniel stared into the dark opening and thought about retirement. Clean apartment, no one shooting at him. Coffee that didn't taste like oil. Then he thought about Anna, beaten and broken, 6 years of torture because he'd failed her. He climbed into the pipe. The smell hit him like a physical force. Human waste, chemicals, rot, everything that had been flushed down toilets and drains for months. Daniel breathed through his mouth, trying not to gag. Behind him, Jack was doing the same, muttering curses under his breath that would have made a sailor proud. They crawled for what felt like hours but was probably 12 minutes. Pipe angled upward, getting steeper. Daniel's shoulders scraped against concrete. His knees screamed. Sewage soaked through his gear, cold and disgusting. 58 years old, crawling through literal shit, about to die fighting a ghost. Catherine would have laughed. She'd always said he had a flair for the dramatic. The pipe ended at a grate. Through the metal bars, Daniel could see a utility room. Boilers, pipes, electrical panels, no guards visible. He pulled out a small crowbar, worked it into the grate's edge, pried. Metal groaned, too loud. He froze, listening. Footsteps above. Someone walking across floor directly over them. Stopped, continued, faded away. Daniel pried harder. Grate popped free. He eased it aside, pulled himself through into the utility room. Jack followed, both of them dripping sewage, smelling like a backed-up toilet. If we survive this, Jack whispered, I'm burning these clothes. If we survive this, I'll buy you a whole new wardrobe. They stripped off the worst of the sewage-covered outer layer, left it in a corner. Underneath, their gear was mostly clean. Mostly. Daniel checked his weapon. Still functional. Checked his backup pistol. Same. Jack did likewise. Meanwhile, Team 1 had reached the south perimeter. Hayes studied the basement entrance. 2 guards visible, smoking cigarettes, looking bored. Standard patrol. Predictable. Hayes hand signaled. Kyle Rivers set up 40 meters back, sniper rifle steady on bipod. Owen Clark readied flashbang grenades. Tyler Mason checked his medical pack again. Nervous habit. Ethan Cross and Lucas Morrison prepared to breach. Hayes counted down on his fingers. 3, 2, 1. Kyle fired. 2 suppressed shots. Both guards dropped. Team 1 moved fast. Ethan and Lucas hit the door with breaching charge. Explosion muffled by thick walls, but still loud enough to wake the dead. They poured through the breach, weapons up, scanning for threats. Basement corridor, concrete floor, flickering lights, cells on both sides. And in those cells, hostages. 12 of them, 9 civilians, 3 military contractors. All alive, some injured, all terrified. They started shouting when they saw the SEALs. "Quiet," Hayes hissed. "We're getting you out, but you need to stay quiet." Tyler moved cell to cell, assessing injuries. Nothing life-threatening. Malnutrition, some beatings, psychological trauma. But mobile, could walk out on their own. Owen started picking locks. Efficient, fast, 30 seconds per cell. First hostages freed, then second, third. Within 5 minutes, all 12 were out. Then alarms shrieked throughout the compound. Someone had noticed that the guards were down, or the door was breached, or maybe just saw the hostages on security cameras. Didn't matter. Element of surprise was gone. Hayes keyed his radio. Team 1 to command. "We have 12 hostages secured, extracting through South Road. Heavy resistance expected." Nicole Chen's voice came back from Fort Carson. "Copy, Team 1. Air support is on standby. Say the word and we'll light them up." "Negative on air support. Too close to hostages. We'll fight our way out." And fight they did. Guards poured into the basement from both ends. Hayes' team formed protective circle around hostages, putting themselves between civilians and incoming fire. The corridor became a shooting gallery. Ethan Cross held North Corridor, his size making him perfect for blocking the narrow passage. He fired controlled bursts, dropping guards as they appeared. His weapon was an extension of his body, every movement practiced 1,000 times. Kyle Rivers covered South Corridor from kneeling position. Sniper rifle useless in close quarters, he'd switched to sidearm. Every shot counted, every shot hit. Tyler Mason pulled wounded hostages behind cover, applied quick trauma care while bullets sparked off walls around him. Medical training taking over, autopilot, saving lives while chaos erupted. Lucas Morrison, youngest and least experienced, surprised everyone. He covered the flanks, watching for guards trying to circle around. Spotted 3 emerging from side room. Dropped all 3 before they could fire. His hands were shaking, but his aim was steady. Owen Clark coordinated it all, calling out targets, managing ammunition, keeping everyone informed. His voice was the anchor in the storm. But they were pinned. Too many guards, not enough cover. They'd rescued the hostages, but getting them out was another problem entirely. Then Alexis Stone's voice crackled through everyone's radios. "Team 2 to all units. I've cleared a path through eastern perimeter. Tunnel network is mapped. I can guide you out underground." Hayes didn't hesitate. "Team 1 copies. Moving to tunnel entrance. Where is it?" "Basement level. Northwest corner. Behind the furnace. Hidden door." Owen had spotted it during initial sweep. Looked like part of the wall. He moved to it now, found the release mechanism, pulled. Door swung open, revealing stairs leading down into darkness. "Go," Hayes ordered. "Owen, take point. Lucas, rear guard. Everyone else, move these people." Hostages filed down the stairs. SEALs covering them, watching for pursuit. Guards tried to follow, but Kyle Rivers held the choke point. Single man with a pistol, holding off a dozen guards through pure marksmanship and stubborn refusal to die. When the last hostage was through, Kyle went. Then Hayes. Door slammed shut behind them. They barricaded it from inside with debris, buying time. Underground, they found themselves in a tunnel network that stretched for hundreds of meters. Support beams, electrical wiring, storage rooms. Nikolai had built an entire secondary compound underground. And in those tunnels, Alexis had found something else. 6 more hostages, long-term captives held for years, emaciated, traumatized, barely human anymore, but alive. Alexis had already freed them, had them gathered in a central chamber, chaos standing guard. Among them was Jessica Martinez, the canine handler Nikolai had taken 7 days ago. She was in better shape than the long-term captives, but still beaten, still terrified. When she saw Shadow, her German shepherd, locked in a cage nearby, she started crying. Alexis had already freed Shadow. The dog was with Jessica now, licking her face, whining with relief. 19 total, Alexis reported to Hayes when Team 1 arrived with their 12 hostages. All accounted for. I've mapped exit routes. We can be out in 15 minutes. What about the colonel? Hayes asked. He's upstairs with Nikolai. Back in the utility room, Daniel and Jack had heard the alarms, heard the gunfire from basement. Knew Team 1 had engaged, which meant it was time for them to move. A door led from utility room into a hallway. Daniel eased it open, peeked through. Long corridor, concrete floor, flickering fluorescent lights. Basement level, but they needed second floor. They found stairs leading up, started climbing, slowly, quietly, weapons ready. Hit first floor landing just as 3 guards came barreling down from above. No time for stealth. Daniel fired, double tap center mass. First guard dropped. Jack took the second. Third got a shot off that sparked off the wall next to Daniel's head before Jack put 2 rounds through his throat. Blood everywhere, guards dead. Alarm still screaming. No turning back now. They went up. Second floor hallway was chaos. Guards running towards south side, toward the explosion and gunfire from basement. Daniel and Jack stayed against the wall, moving opposite direction. Looking for Nikolai's office, looking for Anna. A door opened ahead. Guard stepped out, saw them, reached for weapon. Daniel shot him in the face, kept moving. Another door, another guard. Jack killed this one, quiet knife work, dragged the body into a side room. End of the hallway. Double doors, solid wood, reinforced. This had to be it. Daniel stacked up on one side, Jack on the other. Textbook breach. They'd done this 1,000 times in a dozen countries. One more time, one last time. Daniel kicked the door. It didn't budge, reinforced from inside. Of course, Nikolai wasn't stupid. Jack pulled a breaching charge, started placing it. Daniel covered the hallway, waiting for guards to come investigate the gunfire. Seconds ticked by. Where were they? Then Daniel understood. Nikolai wasn't sending guards. He was waiting, letting Daniel come to him. This whole approach, the sewage pipe, the breaching, all of it had been expected. Nikolai had known Daniel would come this way, because it's what Nikolai would have done. Jack, wait, Daniel started to say. The breaching charge detonated. Doors blew inward. Smoke filled the hallway. Daniel's ears rang. He moved through the breach automatically, weapon up, scanning for targets. The office was enormous, 40 feet across, windows overlooking the compound, expensive furniture. And in the center, behind a massive desk, sat Nikolai Volkov. He looked older than the intel photos, closer to 70, gray hair, deep lines in his face. The left side was scarred heavily, burned tissue and reconstructed bone. One eye milky white, useless. But the other eye, the good one, was sharp and bright with intelligence that age hadn't dimmed. And next to him, chained to a radiator, was Anna Petrova. She looked worse than the video, beaten so badly Daniel barely recognized her. One arm hung at wrong angle, clearly broken, face swollen purple and black, dried blood crusted on her clothing. But her eyes were clear, and when she saw Daniel, something like hope flickered across her broken features. Ironside, Nikolai said in English. Heavy accent, but clear. You are late. I expected you 30 minutes ago. Daniel kept his weapon trained on Nikolai's center mass. Let her go. Why? So you can shoot me? But you will shoot me anyway, yes? Whether I release her or not, so why should I give away leverage? Fair point. Daniel shifted his aim slightly toward Nikolai's good eye. Because if you don't, I'll make it hurt. Nikolai smiled, unsettling expression on that ruined face. You will make it hurt regardless. This I know. You blame me for Chechnya, for 16 dead operators, for 6 years of honest suffering. You have come for revenge. I've come to finish the mission. Same thing. Jack moved along the wall, trying to flank, get a clear shot. But Nikolai tracked him with that good eye. Master Chief Morrison, Nikolai said, I remember you from Chechnya. You were the one who almost reached me. Came within 3 meters before my building collapsed. Very impressive. Should have tried harder, Jack said. Yes, then perhaps I would be dead, and Anna would be free, and Ironside would not have spent 6 years blaming himself. Nikolai leaned back in his chair. But here we are. You failed then. You fail again now. We're not dead yet, Daniel said. Not yet, but soon. Nikolai pressed a button on his desk. Nothing happened. Daniel tensed, waiting for trap to spring, for guards to flood in, for explosives to detonate. Nothing. Nikolai frowned, pressed the button again. Still nothing. Then his desk phone rang. Nikolai picked it up, listened. His expression shifted from confidence to confusion to rage in 3 seconds. "What do you mean the charges are disarmed?" he shouted into phone. "All of them? How is this possible?" He listened more, then slammed phone down. Looked at Daniel with new respect and new hatred. "Your canine handler," Nikolai said. "Stone. She found my tunnel network, found every explosive I placed, disarmed them. All of them. In 20 minutes. Impossible." Daniel felt surge of pride. Alexis, she'd neutralized Nikolai's trap, taken away his leverage, saved everyone in the compound from being incinerated. "Guess you're not as smart as you thought," Daniel said. Nikolai's hand moved under the desk. Jack fired. Round punch through Nikolai's shoulder, spun him sideways. But his hand kept moving, came up holding pistol. Daniel fired twice. Center mass, perfect shot placement. Nikolai grunted, slumped back in chair, but didn't drop the pistol. Body armor under his shirt, of course. Nikolai aimed at Anna. "If I die, she dies. Standoff." Daniel couldn't shoot without risk of hitting Anna. Nikolai was using her as human shield, pistol pressed against her head. Anna's eyes were wide, terrified, but she didn't struggle. Knew struggling would get her killed faster. "You won't shoot her," Daniel said. "She's your leverage, your only way out. Perhaps I shoot her out of spite, make you watch her die like you made me watch my operation die in Chechnya. Fair trade, yes?" Daniel's mind raced. He needed an angle, needed something to shift the dynamic. Jack was moving slowly along the wall, trying to get behind Nikolai, but Nikolai kept shifting, keeping both operators in view with his good eye. Then Anna spoke. First word since Daniel entered the room. Voice raspy, damaged from screaming, but clear. "Shoot him, Daniel. Don't worry about me. Just shoot him." "Anna, no," Daniel said. "I've been here 6 years. 6 years of this. I'm already dead. Have been for a long time. Just shoot him and finish it." Nikolai pressed gun harder against her temple. "Touching, but Ironside won't shoot. He's spent 35 years trying to save people, trying to prove his brother's death meant something. He won't sacrifice you to kill me. He doesn't have it in him." "You don't know me," Daniel said. "I know you better than you know yourself. You are soldier who cannot accept casualties. Leader who blames himself for every death. Man who carries ghosts because letting them go would mean admitting you failed. You are weak, Ironside. This is why I will win." Each word hit like hammer blow. Nikolai wasn't just taunting, he was right. Daniel did carry ghosts. Ryan, Catherine, 16 operators from Chechnya, every name on the memorial wall. He carried them all, had carried them for decades, would carry them until his own death. But maybe that wasn't weakness. Maybe that was what made him human. What separated him from men like Nikolai. "You're right," Daniel said quietly. "I carry ghosts. But you know what? They make me strong. They remind me what I'm fighting for. Who I'm fighting for. And right now, I'm fighting for Anna, which means I'm not giving up. Not now, not ever." Nikolai's eye narrowed. "Then we are at impasse. You cannot shoot without hitting her." "I will not surrender. So we wait until my guards arrive and kill you both." "Your guards are busy," Daniel said. "Team 1 extracted 12 hostages from basement. Team 2 cleared your tunnel network. Found 6 more long-term captives. You're alone up here, old man. Just you and us and Anna, and time's running out." As if to punctuate his point, Daniel's earpiece crackled. "Team 1 to command. We have 12 hostages secured, extracting through tunnel network. Light resistance. We're clear." Hayes sounded surprised, like he couldn't believe it had worked. Another crackle. "Team 2 to command. Tunnel network clear. Found 6 additional long-term captives, including Handler Martinez and K9 Shadow. All alive, all extracting through East Perimeter. Chaos confirms area is secure." Alexis, calm, professional, like she was reporting on training exercise instead of combat operation. Nikolai's face went pale. 18 hostages? That's impossible. I had them separated, guarded, trapped. "You had them guarded by men who didn't expect K9 detection," Daniel said. "Chaos found them before your guards knew we were there. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. Your fortress had a weakness. You never planned for a dog." Nikolai stood, keeping gun pressed to Anna's head, moving her with him, used her as shield, backing toward the window. "I still have her. I still have leverage. You let me walk or she dies." Jack had finally gotten an angle. He was behind Nikolai now, 5 feet away, Clear shot to the back of his head. But taking it meant trusting that Nikolai's dying reflex wouldn't pull the trigger, that Anna wouldn't die in the crossfire. Daniel met Jack's eyes, saw the question there. Take the shot? Daniel looked at Anna, saw resignation, acceptance. She'd been ready to die for 6 years. If it ended now, at least it would end. She'd be free. Then Daniel looked at Nikolai, really looked at him, saw past the scars and the hatred and the tactical mind, saw an old man, 70 years old, clinging to power through fear and violence, saw someone who'd spent 6 years planning this moment, only to watch it fall apart because he'd underestimated a canine handler in a team that had learned humility. Nikolai was dangerous, but he was also desperate, and desperate people made mistakes. Let her go, Daniel said. Walk away. We won't follow. You can disappear, start over somewhere else. Just let her go. Nikolai laughed. Bitter, broken sound. You think I believe that? You will hunt me to end of earth. This I know. You're right, I will. But not today. Today, I'm offering you a choice. Walk away and spend your remaining years looking over your shoulder. Or die here now and prove that all your planning, all your preparation, all your torture of an innocent woman amounted to nothing. That you lost to an old man, a canine handler, and a dog. Nikolai's gun hand trembled. Not fear, rage, pure distilled hatred for the man who'd beaten him. You want me to run, to hide like coward? I want you to live with the knowledge that you lost. That for 6 years you prepared, and it still wasn't enough. That a 28-year-old woman in a Belgian Malinois dismantled everything you built. That's a worse punishment than death, and you'll carry it to your grave. Long silence. Nikolai's breathing harsh. Anna's breathing shallow. Waiting. Then Nikolai lowered the gun. You are a cruel man, Ironside, crueler than me. He released Anna. She collapsed to the floor sobbing. Jack moved fast, grabbed Nikolai, zip-tied his hands behind his back. Nikolai didn't resist. Fight had gone out of him. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. Daniel went to Anna, knelt beside her. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry I didn't come sooner. She touched his face with her good hand. You came, that's what matters. After 6 years, you came. Tyler Mason arrived minutes later, rushing up from basement to treat Anna. He'd left the hostages with the rest of Team 1 in the tunnels, came up alone to help. Found nothing serious on Daniel or Jack. Bruises, exhaustion, probable hearing damage from the breaching charge. Nothing that wouldn't heal. Anna needed hospital. Multiple broken bones, internal injuries, malnutrition, infection. Tyler stabilized her for transport, got IV started, administered pain medication. She's tough, Tyler said. She'll make it. Daniel hoped he was right. Federal agents arrived 40 minutes later. FBI, ATF, DHS. Nikolai was transferred to their custody, loaded into armored vehicle. He looked at Daniel one last time before they took him away. This is not over, Ironside. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. Guards surrendered once they realized Nikolai was captured, and all hostages were free. 53 total, including the personal bodyguards. All taken into custody, compound secured, mission accomplished. Daniel stood outside the main house, watching the sun climb over the Appalachian Mountains. He was exhausted, covered in sewage and blood, ears ringing, joints screaming, and he felt better than he had in years. Alexis approached with chaos at her side. Dog looked proud of himself, tail wagging, tongue lolling. He'd earned it. All hostages accounted for, Alexis said. 19 total, 13 from recent captures, 6 long-term. Jessica Martinez is safe. Shadow is safe. All alive. We did it. You did it, Daniel corrected. Nikolai's tunnel network, the explosives, finding the long-term hostages, disabling his entire trap system. That was all you and chaos. I had good training. You exceeded it. They stood together in comfortable silence. 2 operators who'd survived Chechnya, who'd carried ghosts for 6 years, who'd finally put some of them to rest. But they were alive, and they'd learned. Colonel Webb, Hayes said formally, permission to speak freely? Granted. 2 weeks ago, we were arrogant assholes who thought we knew everything. Today, we learned we don't know shit. Thank you for the lesson. And thank Handler Stone and Chaos. They saved our lives. Again. Alexis nodded. You earned it, Lieutenant. You listened when it mattered. Jack Morrison approached, looking like he'd been through a meat grinder. Talk to command. Helicopters inbound for extraction. ETA 20 minutes. Good. I need a shower. Several showers. You need hazmat decontamination. You smell like you died and came back wrong. Daniel laughed. Actually laughed. When was the last time he'd done that? Months, maybe years. The helicopters arrived on schedule. Hostages loaded first. Anna on stretcher, conscious now, pain medication making her groggy but alert enough to squeeze Daniel's hand as they carried her past. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for not forgetting me. Never, Daniel said. Not for 6 years. Not ever. Teams loaded next. Hayes and his SEALs, exhausted but professional. They'd proven themselves today. Earned their place. Alexis in chaos loaded last. Dog settled at her feet, head on paws, already half asleep. Alexis stared out the window, watching the compound shrink below them. You okay? Daniel asked. I didn't freeze. When it mattered, when I had Nikolai's guards in my sights, I didn't freeze. That's all I needed to know. Told you. You're stronger than you think. Maybe. Or maybe I just had good people watching my back. The flight back to Fort Carson took 3 hours. Daniel dozed, first real sleep in 48 hours. Dreamed about Ryan, but for once it wasn't the nightmare. Just memory. Good memory. Ryan laughing, alive, young, telling Daniel to stop being so serious, to live a little. Maybe it was time to start listening. They landed at Fort Carson at 1400 hours. Media was already there. News crews, cameras, the whole circus. Someone had leaked details of the operation. Rescue of 19 hostages, capture of international arms dealer, heroic raid by elite team. Daniel hated it. This wasn't heroism. This was just doing the job. Finishing what should have been finished 6 years ago. Captain Sarah Brennan met them on the tarmac. She looked relieved and impressed. Colonel Webb, Handler Stone, outstanding work. All hostages safe, target in custody, no friendly casualties. Command is very pleased. Good for command, Daniel said. Where's Anna? Medical flight to Walter Reed. She'll get best care there. Doctors say full recovery is possible given time and therapy. Daniel nodded. Good. She deserved that. Deserved a life after 6 years of hell. What about Nikolai? Federal custody. Multiple agencies want him. State Department is negotiating jurisdiction. He'll spend rest of his life in Supermax. He'll never see daylight again. Better than he deserved, but good enough. Nicole Chen was waiting in the briefing facility. She'd coordinated everything from Fort Carson, tracking communications, providing real-time intelligence updates, calling in resources when needed. The invisible hand that made the mission possible. Colonel Webb, she said when he entered, good to see you in one piece. Good to be in one piece. Your intel was perfect, Nicole, thank you. Just doing my job, sir, same as Chechnya, except this time everyone came home. Those words hit harder than Daniel expected. Everyone came home. For the first time in 6 years, everyone came home. Debriefing took 8 hours. Every detail of the mission, recorded, analyzed, critiqued. Daniel walked them through it step by step, the insertion, the sewage pipe, the breach, the confrontation, Nikolai's capture. Analysts loved it. Textbook operation, they said. Perfect integration of K9 assets with traditional special operations. Would be taught at every military academy for years. When he finally emerged, wrapped in towel, he looked at himself in the mirror. 58 years old, scarred, worn, but alive. Still breathing, still fighting. For 13 more days anyway. Then retirement. Then the rest of his life, however long that was. His phone rang. Number he didn't recognize, he answered. Colonel Webb, this is Dr. Walsh. Elizabeth, his therapist. The one he'd promised to see weekly after the mission. Dr. Walsh, I was going to call you. I'm sure you were, I saw the news. 19 hostages rescued. You kept your promise to come back alive. Now I'm calling to make sure you keep the other promise. Weekly sessions. Starting tomorrow. It worked. That's not the point. What is the point? One challenge at a time.